In a world where every smile can be a mask and every handshake a performance, the truth about who someone really is often hides beneath layers of charm and intention. You move through life surrounded by people, some sincere, some not. And yet it's easy to miss the subtle cues because deception rarely announces itself. It whispers. It hides behind empathy, behind laughter, behind perfectly timed compliments. But if we are not careful, what seems warm can quietly become a threat to our peace. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they saw through this. They didn't try to control others. They trained themselves to see clearly, to act deliberately, and to protect their inner world at all costs. They knew that life isn't just about who you meet, it's about how you respond, and in that response lies your strength. Today, we dive into the often invisible dynamics of trust and betrayal through the sharp and unshakable lens of Stoic philosophy, from the manipulative friend to the constant critic, the inattentive listener to the two-faced individual. We're exposing the patterns that drain your peace and showing you how to rise above them. This isn't just a video, it's a toolkit for self-mastery. The manipulative friend, stay with me, and by the end, you'll walk away more empowered, more aware, and more at peace. And before we begin, a small favour: if you find value in what we're sharing, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it helps this message reach more people like you. And whatever you do, don't skip around. Every section of this video contains insights that can truly reshape the way you see relationships and protect your inner calm. Let's begin. They're the kind of person who makes you feel understood from the start. Their gaze feels steady, their words comforting, and their timing perfect. They remember the little things, they mirror your emotions so well, it almost feels like fate brought them into your life. But beneath that warmth lies something far more calculated. At first, you call it intuition. Later, you realize it was strategy. They weren't just listening. They were collecting. Each confession you offered was another tool. Every vulnerability, another opportunity. This is the manipulative friend, the one who cloaks control and kindness. They present themselves as your greatest ally, but their affection is transactional. Their kindness has strings. Their support a performance. They gain your trust only to use it as leverage. You share your pain. They file it away, not to help you, but to control you when the moment is right. And when that moment comes, they twist your words, guilt-trip you into decisions, or subtly shift your opinions to serve their needs. You'll question your own judgment. You'll wonder if you're being paranoid. But deep down, you know something's wrong. So how do we deal with this kind of person? The Stoics would begin by telling us, this clarity is more valuable than comfort. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if someone is mistaken, instruct them kindly. But if that fails, walk away. The Stoics were not passive. They were discerning. They believed in guarding the soul with the same seriousness as one guards their home. Not every open door is a welcome mat. Not every smile is sincere. Start by observing. Do they uplift you or subtly erode your confidence? Do they support your independence or try to make you reliant on them? When you succeed, do they celebrate or shift the attention back to themselves? The answers lie not in what they say, but in the pattern of how they make you feel over time. If you constantly feel confused, obligated, or emotionally drained, that's not friendship. That's control to protect yourself. The first step is setting boundaries that are clear and unwavering. You don't need to explain them. You don't owe anyone your peace. Begin to share selectively. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people ask how you're doing, just to gauge how much power they still have over you. Reserve your trust for those who prove consistently that they honour it, and if you feel guilty for pulling away, remember this: protecting your mental and emotional health is not selfish. The constant critic? It's self-respect. The manipulative friend will try to convince you. Otherwise, they'll say you're overreacting, that you're being cold, that you're imagining things. Don't let guilt gaslight you into submission. The Stoics teach us that virtue lies in action. Not approval. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to grow. Friendship, in its truest form, is a space where both people rise, where truth is welcome, where safety is mutual. If someone consistently makes you feel small, uncertain, or indebted, it's time to step back. You don't have to confront them with anger. Just detach with wisdom. Let your silence speak the boundaries, your words. Once couldn't you owe it to yourself to walk with people who nourish your soul, not poison it? There's a type of person who never runs out of opinions, especially about you. Your ideas? Not good enough? Your ambitions? Unimpressive. Your personality? Flawed in ways they're all too eager to point out. They cloak their words in the language of honesty or helping you grow. But the truth is, their voice doesn't lift you. It diminishes you slowly, quietly, like water wearing down stone, until one day you begin to question your own voice, your own worth. The constant critic often poses as the helpful realist, but what they offer is not insight, it's erosion. It's not that they see too much, it's that they refuse to see the good. They notice your missteps, but ignore your courage. They analyze your flaws, but overlook your progress. And perhaps the most dangerous part, sometimes they're the people closest to you, a friend, a partner, a mentor, which makes their words cut deeper, last longer. So what do you do when every step forward is met with skepticism? When your creativity shrinks under the weight of their disapproval? The Stoics give us a radical yet empowering answer. We are not injured by what is said, but by how we choose to receive it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." In other words, it's not their criticism that harms you. It's whether you allow it to become part of your internal dialogue. But let's be honest, that's easier said than done, especially when the criticism comes often, especially when it's delivered with a tone that makes you feel small. This is where discernment becomes your greatest tool. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Ask yourself, is this critique constructive, or is it designed to control me? Is it rooted in care, or is it rooted in their own insecurities? The Stoics would have you pause and examine the source. If there's truth in their words, take it. Use it, let it refine you. But if the words are empty or cruel or repeated like a broken record, let them fall like rain on stone. Don't absorb them, don't internalize them, because the critic may never stop talking, but you can stop listening to protect your peace-build boundaries that filter words before they reach your core. Don't engage every comment. Don't defend every action. Silence sometimes is the strongest answer. The superficially friendly, not because you're weak, but because you've chosen strength over drama, purpose over pettiness, and don't be afraid to reduce your exposure to someone who consistently chips away at your self-worth, even if they're just being honest. Honesty without compassion is cruelty, and cruelty has no place in the architecture of a meaningful life. Real growth doesn't come from constant criticism. It comes from support, from encouragement, from truth that's wrapped in love. Not superiority. Find people who challenge you to be better, but do so while reminding you that you're already enough. That's the kind of critic worth keeping the rest. Let them speak, but don't let them shape you. You are not here to shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. You are here to expand into everything you were meant to become. And that journey begins when you stop letting critics define your limits and start letting your own clarity define your path. They have the brightest smile in the room. They know your name, ask about your day, and laugh at your jokes, even the bad ones. They show up everywhere, the parties, the group chats, the photos. At first glance, they seem like the kind of person everyone wants around, warm, outgoing, effortlessly likable. But beneath that glittering surface is something hollow. Their presence is frequent, but their loyalty is absent. Their kindness is broad, but never deep. And when life gets hard, they're nowhere to be found. This is the superficially friendly person. They're masters of the social game, smooth with words, generous with compliments, but reluctant to step into anything real. You may think you've built a connection with them, only to realize later you were just another stop on their tour of shallow attention. When you're struggling, they go silent. When you need something meaningful, they vanish. Their warmth was never about you. It was about being liked, about being seen, about maintaining the illusion of connection without the burden of commitment. Stoicism teaches us to value the depth of our relationships, not their quantity. Seneca reminds us, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. What does this mean in practice? It means we must be intentional about who we allow into the inner circle of our lives. Not everyone who smiles at you is a friend. Not everyone who shows up is showing up for you. The Stoic understands that true friendship is not built in loud rooms or fleeting interactions. It is built in the quiet spaces where support is offered, without asking, where presence is imperformative and where truth is never sacrificed for appearances. The Stoic seeks companions of substance, those who speak less but mean more, who may not show up everywhere but are always there when it matters. So how do we navigate the world of the superficially friendly? First, we stop expecting depth from those who've only ever skimmed the surface. Enjoy their company for what it is. Light, momentary, pleasant, but don't confuse it with trust. Don't hand over your secrets to those who've never earned them. Save your emotional energy for the people who show up not just in the sunshine, but in the storm. Those who aren't afraid of silence or pain, or sitting with you in uncomfortable moments. True friendship requires effort. The inattentive listener. Vulnerability, loyalty, and the courage to show up even when there's nothing to gain. That kind of friendship might be rare, but that's what makes it sacred. The Stoics would rather have one honest companion than 1,000 acquaintances who only know the version of you that's easy to love. So be kind, yes. Be open, yes. But be discerning, recognize that not all friendliness is friendship. And remember that real connection doesn't need to be loud or constant to be meaningful. It just needs to be true. You've been there. You're speaking about something that matters, something that took courage to share. And across from you sits someone nodding, smiling, saying, uh-huh, like they're listening, but they're not. Their eyes drift, their attention wavers, their responses feel automatic. They're present in body, but absent in spirit. And you walk away, not just unheard, but unseen. The inattentive listener is a subtle kind of wound. They don't argue with you, they don't reject you. But in their silence, something essential is missing: presence. And without presence, no relationship can thrive. Because communication at its core is not about words, it's about connection. And when that connection is missing, you feel it deeply. You begin to question whether your words matter. Whether you matter. The Stoics had a deep respect for attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman on doing what's in front of you, with precise and genuine seriousness, for the Stoic attentiveness isn't optional. It's a practice, a sign of respect, of discipline, and of virtue. To truly listen is to honour another human being's existence. It's to say, without speaking, you matter enough for me to be fully here." And that's the difference between a relationship that empowers you and one that quietly drains you, when someone consistently fails to engage with you, to hear you, to meet you. Halfway in conversation, they are not just ignoring your words, they're eroding the trust between you. Because if someone can't be present with you in the small things, how can they stand with you in the big ones? So what can we do when faced with this kind of disconnection? First, look inward. Ask, am I communicating with clarity? Am I engaging from a place of authenticity? Sometimes all it takes is a simple, direct question to snap someone back into the moment. But if your presence still doesn't seem to register, Stoicism offers a powerful reminder. We cannot control others, we can only control ourselves. call it out gently. Let them know that you feel unheard. Invite them back into the space with kindness. But if they continue to drift, if they continue to treat your presence as background noise, it may be time to reevaluate what role they play in your life, because your words are not disposable. Your time is not meaningless, and your energy deserves to be met, not tolerated. Choose to invest in relationships where your voice echoes, where it is met with reflection, with curiosity, with care. The empathy-lacking individual. Because when someone truly listens to you, you don't just feel heard, you feel valued, and in a world full of distractions, that kind of presence is rare. But the Stoics remind us rare things are often the most precious. So don't beg for attention. Don't chase it. Don't shrink to be noticed. Simply surround yourself with people who show up fully, consistently, silently communicating you matter. I'm here. There's a certain type of person whose world begins and ends with themselves. Every story circles back to their struggle. Every conversation becomes an echo chamber for their triumphs, their pain, their opinions. You could be speaking about something deeply personal, your fears, your dreams, your grief, and within moments they pivot the focus back to them. It's subtle at first, then it becomes a pattern. Eventually you realize it's not just that. They don't understand your emotions. They're not even trying to. This is the empathy-lacking individual. Their presence can be disorienting because they often don't intend harm. They simply fail to notice the space you occupy, the reality you live in. It's as if your feelings are shadows in a room where only their light is allowed to shine. And in their world, there's little room for your complexity, your hurt, or your humanity. But Stoicism gives us language for this. Epictetus taught that while we may not control how others treat us, we are always responsible for how we engage with their behaviour. A person's lack of empathy is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their limitations. And once we understand that, we stop pleading for emotional awareness where it cannot be given. Still dealing with someone who consistently fails to validate or even recognise your emotions can feel lonely. You may try harder to explain yourself. You may start shrinking your emotional needs just to keep the peace. But here's the truth. You should never have to become less visible just to stay in someone's life. Emotional invisibility is a slow form of self-erasure, and the Stoics would never want you to accept that fate. So what can you do? First, lead by example. As Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Practice empathy in your own interactions. Offer the kind of emotional presence you wish to receive, but don't expect that it will be mirrored back. Instead, observe if your openness is consistently met with indifference. Protect yourself. That doesn't mean shutting down. It means setting boundaries. It means recognizing that compassion for others does not require the sacrifice of your emotional well-being. You can care without carrying. You can listen without absorbing. And you can offer understanding without becoming responsible for someone who refuses to offer it in return if they continue to overlook your needs. Limit your exposure, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. The Stoic seeks balance. And in relationships, that means being surrounded by those who respect both your silence and your expression. Those who are present when you speak and stay. When you are hurting, the absence of empathy is not just a lack of emotional depth. It's a danger to your inner peace, because when your emotions are constantly dismissed, you begin to question if they're even valid. The constant irritator, don't fall into that trap. Your feelings are not up for debate. They are real, they matter, and the right people will hold space for them. The Stoics remind us, it's not about changing those who cannot see you. It's about making sure you remain visible to yourself. They always know just what to say, to unsettle you, to poke, to prod, to trigger just the right nerve. Their jabs are never overtly cruel, just subtle enough to pass his jokes, light enough to be brushed off, but sharp enough to sting you. Walk away from interactions with them, feeling drained off balance, maybe even questioning whether you're being too sensitive, But you're not imagining it. You're not overreacting. You're dealing with a constant irritator, someone who has mastered the art of emotional disruption. These individuals treat human interaction like a game of chess. Every move is calculated, every word deliberate. Their compliments come with barbs. Their humour has a bite and their favourite tool. Your reaction. Because to them, irritation isn't collateral damage. It's the goal. The sigh you let out. The tension in your jaw. The pause in your sentence. These are wins to them. Proof they still have power over your emotional state. The Stoics would not be surprised. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, the constant irritator is not the threat your untrained response to them is, and that's where your power begins. Not by changing them, but by changing how much of your peace you allow them to disturb." So how do you handle someone who seems to thrive on throwing you off centre? First, stop trying to outplay them. This isn't a game you need to win. It's a noise you need to silence, not outside, but within. The irritator feeds off attention. Off reaction when you respond with anger. They grow stronger, but when you respond with calm, with stillness, with indifference, their power shrinks. This is what Stoic detachment is about. Not coldness, but control. Not silence born from suppression, but silence born from self-command. You begin by seeing their behaviour for what it is, a performance, and you stop giving it an audience. You become unshakable. Not because they stop provoking you, but because you stop being provoked. You can acknowledge their presence without granting them space in your mind. You can hear their words without letting them echo inside you. Imagine their comments as background noise, like a flickering light in a room you've already decided to leave. You don't fix it. You don't argue with it. You walk away from it now. That doesn't mean you must tolerate abuse if the irritation turns toxic. Set boundaries, speak up. Remove yourself if necessary. But know this: the strongest boundary is often invisible. It's the one you draw internally when you decide this person does not get to control my emotional weather. That's Stoic power, because true strength is not never feeling irritated. It's being able to move through irritation. Like a mountain moves through wind untouched, unmoved and unconcerned. Your peace is not a reaction. The eternal victim. It's a decision, and once you make that decision, the irritator loses their grip. No matter the season, no matter the day, no matter the circumstance, something is always going wrong in their life. To speak with them is to enter an ongoing storm. Their problems are endless, and somehow none of them are ever their fault. You try to help, you offer advice, support your energy, and for a while it feels meaningful. Like maybe your presence is making a difference, but then comes the pattern. The same stories, the same complaints, the same helplessness. And you start to realise this person isn't searching for solutions, they're searching for sympathy. The eternal victim doesn't want change, they want attention. And often, without realising it, they begin to siphon your energy to fuel their own cycle of suffering. You become the fixer, the listener, the emotional anchor. But the more you give, the more depleted you feel, because their problems are not puzzles, they're anchors. And instead of lifting them, they pull you down. This is one of the most emotionally deceptive roles someone can play. They don't attack you. They don't manipulate in obvious ways. Instead, they wear you out with their dependency. They weaponize helplessness. And over time, their inability to move forward becomes your burden to carry. But Stoicism has a different view of suffering. Epictetus taught it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoics believed suffering was not a fixed state, but a test, an invitation to grow, to respond with strength, not surrender. And in that light, the eternal victim's refusal to take responsibility is not just exhausting, it's a rejection of their own power. So how do you love someone like this without losing yourself? The Stoic answer: empathy with boundaries. Yes, you can care. Yes, you can listen. But no, you're not responsible for carrying their entire world, because doing so doesn't help them. It enables them every time you take ownership of a problem they refuse to face. You delay their growth. You rob them of the very struggle that could make them strong. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. And sometimes that means acknowledging that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. You can stand beside them, but you can't walk their path for them. You can offer support, but you can't live their life. And once you see that clearly, you'll understand the most compassionate thing you can do is step back, not in coldness, but in clarity, set boundaries. Not as a wall, but as a mirror. Reflect to them that their healing is their responsibility. And if they resent you for it, know this. Sometimes people would rather stay in their chaos than face the discomfort of change. But you don't have to join them in that choice. Your peace matters. Your energy matters. And if a relationship is constantly draining you while offering no growth in return, the Stoics would say that's not a relationship, that's a lesson, learn it, and move forward with grace. Let your compassion be strong, not sacrificial. And remember, support is not the same as rescue. You are not the savior in someone else's endless story of suffering. You are your own steady flame. Protect it. The two-faced individual. They smile in your presence and slice your reputation the moment you walk away to your face. They're kind attentive, maybe even affectionate, but behind your back they transform, suddenly critical, dismissive, even cruel. The two-faced individual is one of the most dangerous people you'll ever encounter. Not because they're loud in their betrayal, but because they're quiet, subtle and calculated. At first, it's confusing. You hear things from others, comments they made, rumours they spread, and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Surely there's some misunderstanding, but the pattern keeps appearing, and slowly the truth becomes undeniable. The person who once made you feel safe is the very one undermining you. This kind of duplicity is a betrayal not just of trust, but of the very foundation of human connection. And it can leave you feeling hurt, exposed, even humiliated. But the Stoics would remind you, their deceit says everything about their character and nothing about your worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, when someone stoops low, the true power lies in refusing to meet them. There, the two-faced individual thrives on chaos. They stir conflict, plant seeds of doubt, and observe from the shadows as relationships fracture. Why? Because for them, authenticity is threatening. Real connection requires vulnerability, and they are far too afraid of being seen for who they truly are. So they hide behind masks. They shift depending on the room, the audience, the advantage, but you don't have to play along. Stoicism gives us a clear directive here. Choose your company carefully. Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. And the unspoken half of that sentence is this: walk away from those who only pretend to support you. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because your peace is more important than appearances. So how do you handle a two-faced individual once you've uncovered the truth? First, accept it fully. Stop hoping they'll change. Stop giving them second chances in the name of diplomacy. You're not being unkind by stepping back. You're being honest. Then reduce your emotional investment. Don't waste time trying to expose them. Don't try to match their manipulation. Instead, protect your space. Close the door gently but firmly, and then focus on what you can control: your own integrity. Be the kind of person who is the same in every room, who defends what's right, even when it's inconvenient, who holds others with respect. Even when they aren't in the room to hear it, because your consistency, your honesty, your alignment, that is your armour. Let this kind of betrayal make you sharper, not colder, more discerning, not distrustful, because not everyone deserves access to your inner world. And when someone shows you they're willing to cut you down in secret, believe them and free yourself. The Stoics teach us that we must guard our character more fiercely than our reputation. Why? Because in a world full of duplicity, character is your compass. And if you stay true to yours, No two-faced person can ever truly shake your foundation. They don't just challenge your peace, they consume it. A toxic individual is not defined by one flaw or one bad habit. The toxic individual. They are a storm of harmful patterns, manipulation, jealousy, constant negativity, deception or control around them. The air feels heavier. Your joy feels muted. Your self-doubt increases. They question your worth, distort your wins, and often make you feel like the problem even when you know deep down that something isn't right. At first, you may justify it. They're going through something. They didn't mean it. Maybe I'm being too sensitive, but over time, the effect is undeniable. You begin walking on eggshells, your confidence starts to wither you. Second-guess your every move, and perhaps most devastatingly, you begin to lose sight of who you were before they entered your life. The Stoics would never ask you to tolerate that. Epictetus said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." And when someone consistently pulls you away from your higher self through guilt chaos or subtle control, that's not companionship, that's captivity. It's not loyalty to stay, it's self-betrayal. Toxic individuals don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper, they drip poison, drop by drop into your spirit until you no longer trust your own intuition. But, and the worst part, they often do it with a smile, with a compliment, with a gesture that appears caring on the surface but is laced with a deeper intent to keep you small, to keep you doubting, to keep you tethered to them. So how do we break free from that grip? The Stoic path begins with awareness. Stop trying to change them. Stop hoping they'll become someone different instead. Observe, look at how you feel after every interaction. Are you exhausted, anxious? Do you feel like you have to shrink yourself just to keep the peace? These feelings are signals, and Stoicism teaches us not to ignore them. Next, set boundaries, not as retaliation, but as a radical act of self-respect. You don't need to announce them. You don't need to justify them. You simply implement them. Fewer conversations. More space clarity in what you will and will not accept if they respond with guilt trips or anger. That's further proof that the boundary is needed. And if they continue, if their behavior escalates, manipulates, or destabilizes your inner peace, then walk away completely. Stoicism teaches us that sometimes removing yourself from the fire is not abandonment, it's wisdom. And if that fire is someone you once loved, then yes, walking away might hurt, but staying will destroy you. Surround yourself with people who uplift your energy, not suppress it, who celebrate your light, not compete with it, who bring clarity, not confusion. You deserve to feel safe in your own life. The Stoics understood this deeply. Peace is not just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of integrity, of calm, of stability. Final message: choose your peace, and anyone who persistently disrupts that doesn't belong on your path. Let them go, not in anger, but in strength. And when they're gone, rebuild, reclaim your voice, reconnect with who you were before. Toxicity taught you to silence yourself. You don't need their permission to heal you. Only need your own. You've just journeyed through the quiet battles. We all face the subtle betrayals, the draining dynamics, the people who pull at our peace without ever appearing to. And through the lens of Stoic wisdom, we've seen that the greatest strength isn't in controlling others. It's in mastering ourselves. You are not here to be manipulated, diminished, or silenced. You are here to live with clarity, to protect your spirit, and to walk with integrity, even when the world gives you every reason not to. That's the Stoic path. Not coldness, but control. Not indifference, but inner strength. If today's video opened your eyes or helped you reclaim a piece of yourself, we ask one small thing. Support our channel. Deep Dive Stoic by subscribing and sharing this message. It helps us reach more souls who are ready to rise above the noise and choose wisdom over chaos. Thank you for being part of this journey. Stay mindful, stay steady, and no matter what the world throws your way, stay stoic.